Okay, I like that. What does that look like? What does it look like when someone's spiritually strong? How does a spiritually strong person look like?
They also have, weaknesses, but you can tell their attitude, how they treat other people, how they talk to other people.
How they talk to other people?
Yes, you can just automatically tell that that person is trying to imitate Jesus in the way that Jesus told us to imitate him, right?
Right. And I love that. I love that a lot. I was reading a book real quick. I'll get right to you real quick. Strong people help others. Weak people attack others. We saw this right now. Like the weak people complaining about Zacchaeus and Jesus are attacking Zacchaeus. Jesus doesn't attack Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus and Jesus, they help each other, right? Essentially.
I don't judge you for your weaknesses.
You don't judge people for their weaknesses.
No, I'm gonna have to love you no matter what, because Jesus loved me no matter what, right?
Mhm.
He loved us first, even though we were still sinners. So that's what we need to trust, because we're very, very harsh a lot of times, and we don't wanna be judged that way, but yet we do it.
No, I like that. No amount of sin, no amount of sin puts you too far from Jesus. Everyone has that equal opportunity to be forgiven by Jesus and to be introduced by Jesus. What I love about Zacchaeus is Jesus calls him down from the tree right away. All Zacchaeus was expecting that day was to see the Lord go by, just take a glance. That's it. That's all he wanted. And so when he just wanted that one thing, just to see him, he got something more because of his heart. So when Jesus sees his heart, he says, come down here. I'm going to go to your house. I'm going to have dinner at your house. And the story stops right there, but imagine what they actually talked about at Zacchaeus' house. What did Zacchaeus feed Jesus? Did he feel like home? How long did Jesus stay? Did the conversation take 10 minutes or 8 hours? We don't know. The point is he goes. He goes. It's just awesome. And we don't know. The point is that he goes. He goes to a sinner's house. Real quick, I want to go to verse 8. Then Zacchaeus stood and said to the Lord, look, Lord, I give half of my goods to the poor, and if I have taken anything from anyone by false accusation, I restore fourfold. I'm not going to ask anyone to say this, but imagine a time when you got caught red-handed. Whether you were forgiven or whether you were held accountable. Whether you admitted honestly or you made an excuse to try to justify your action. What happened? Now, if it was good and you were forgiven, I think that's great. I think that's probably one of the most powerful moments in a person's life is when they're forgiven for their false accusations. Or not false accusations, but when they're forgiven of the sin that they actually committed. We all go through this one time. And when is that? When we're baptized. You had something, Kelly? Or did you just take off your glasses? Later? Okay, we'll talk later. All right, so real quick. Jesus came to save and seek that which was lost. Can Christians in their lives get lost, even if it's just for a short time? Can someone give me an example? Mm. I think sometimes, I like what you said. Thanks for sharing with us. And I hope things get better. But I think we can still be here and get lost mentally. We're here, but we're not checking in. We're checked out. And we can get lost mentally, spiritually that way. A lot of times people say, how do you know when someone's lost and they're coming to church, but they're not here? Well, who's saying hi to them? Are they saying hi to other people? Who's quiet? Usually, BC mentioned something a long time ago. Well, not a long time ago, a few months ago. He says, I get excited when I come to church. This is supposed to be a joyous a day with our family. Are you hugging your family? Are you letting them know how they're doing? How was their week? Are you making plans with them? Are you rejoicing with your family here? Are you here? Are you not lost? Are you with your family? I know that when I'm not here, people know, hey, are you okay? What's wrong? I know something's wrong with you. And I'll say, nah, I'm good. And they'll be like, are you good? Are you good? Just trying to make me smile. Because people realize what you don't realize. Like when I'm upset, people say, hey, BJay, I can see it on your face. You're mad. And I'll say, I'm all right. Whatever. Yeah, it's just another day. It'll be better tomorrow. And we don't realize it consciously, but we're not checked in. We're checked out. Yes, I agree. So I think what you're relating to is before you go to serve the Lord, make sure that the sin you have between you and your brother is taken care of first. And Jesus says, don't come to the Father before you don't take care of your sin. Like if you know you're doing wrong, go and take care of that sin, then come and worship the Lord. Or else you're doing it in vain. Siri? No, go ahead. Continue. Okay, now get to the point. Get to the point so that. Yeah.
He's telling them, basically, you're wrong, and you don't change. This is what eventually is going to happen. They're going to have to face God.
Yeah, so the posture of their hearts. Rhonda? Yeah. What I love at the end of this 10 verses is that Jesus doesn't define Zacchaeus on his past doings, his past works. He doesn't look at anything in the past. Jesus defines people on their hearts and whether they can transform for the better. I believe we all have had stumblings, and I believe we all can benefit from the Lord, not ourselves or not our own plans, but being honest and just by accepting the Lord. Kelly? Yeah, it does. Go ahead and read it, Kelly. I'm still getting there. Money, trade routes. He did. Towards the money. Because, yeah. No. Learn it. I would also live it too. You bring up a good point, a really, really good point. So right away we know who Zacchaeus is. He's a tax collector. He's also the chief tax collector. They're also talking about him being repaid. And Jesus does take him to school. But just like Jesus takes him to school, Jesus takes all of us to school on the things we think we hide. Jesus sees our hearts even though we try to hide. But to get into we're going over individual stories in the Bible on how Jesus' attitude was towards others. So we went over the adulterous woman. And there's a lot in the adulterous woman, but the point was you can't catch Jesus in a lie. And Jesus came to forgive her sins, no matter how bad they were. And so we see that she's forgiven. Also, we went over Nicodemus, and we saw that Nicodemus had a true heart. But we also see the side of Nicodemus where he comes at night to talk to Jesus because he's scared of what other people will say around him, right? We're always worried about what people are going to say around us. And now we're hearing Zacchaeus, and Zacchaeus doesn't care what people say about him. Zacchaeus knows who he is, right? And so right now, today, we all know who we are. We all know how we think, and we all know what we want, but do we let the masses affect us? Do we let online activity affect us? And to just push that even forward, Jesus, he doesn't look at all the mess. He doesn't look at all the chaos. It's always important to remember that even though today, especially today, it's a hurricane, there's chaos all around us. And Jesus is the eye of the storm. Jesus is the only place where it's calm. Jesus is the only place where it's safe. And so no matter what we do, we need to always remember that even as in our attitudes, we need to be the eye of the storm. We need to be calm. We need to remember that even though there's chaos around us, we need to act the way the Lord desires us to act. And how do we know that? How do we know Jesus wants us to act that way? Because we come here every Sunday and we study about how he did those things. For God so loved the world, he gave his one and only begotten Son. But what does that mean? Like, even though Jesus was crucified on the cross for every wrongful sin that he did not commit, he let it happen. He let it happen. One was to fulfill all the plans that God had, to fulfill the law of Moses and to establish a new law, the law of grace. But also, he teaches us how to be disciples, Christians. So remember, disciples just means a follower of Christ. Christians, that's what they started getting called at in Antioch. And so as we continue and we end our class, let us keep in mind that as we get closer to summer, we're about to go into the world, we're about to have our interactions. One, let's not judge people on their covers. Let's try to look at their hearts. And second, let's be always honest about God, about our sin with God. Let's not lie about our sin. Let's not try to paint a pretty picture for ourselves. Let us always be honest about our sin with the Lord, just like Zacchaeus was honest about his sin with Jesus Christ. Class dismissed.